tell you how that felt. Swift kick from a man can turn into a bad spell. Kick-ass movies and land really tend to add well. North, Mr. North Star. Pop the judo, chop you right out your car. Kush to the Hayes, Mr. Always raise the bar. He strives to be great and exceeds it by far. So sit back, relax, we getting dirty like a mud pit. Talking kickboxer and blood fist. If we catch you dozing off, then you gotta go. What you know about Taekwondo? We're here to kick ass. If you with the kung fu.
What's good, y'all? Kush Hayes here. New year, new season, kick-ass movie podcast. What's good, y'all? How have you been? With me, as always, is the director of Pact of Vengeance, Master Len Kabasinski. What's good, Len? How you doing?
Kush, my man, how's it going? And thanks for having me. I look forward to this series we're doing here. Every single one of these films in this lineup is stuff that I adore, that I really grew up watching, and I'm sure in some way influenced me in some fashion in my filmmaker career, kind of thing. You know, growing up, they're like, or when people are like, well, people will joke, well, Len's not going to be Spielberg, or Len's the next Kubrick, or ha ha ha. Well, guess what? Joke's on you, players, because I never wanted to be that. I wanted to be Fred Olen Ray. I wanted to be Jim Wynorski. I wanted to be Robert Klaus, who did Enter the Dragon, and China O'Brien with Cynthia Rothrock and stuff. Those are the guys I wanted to be. I never wanted to be Kubrick. That sounds like it was exhausting mentally to be Kubrick. So I wanted to be guys making fun movies.
There you go, man. Well, we got a fun movie on our plate today, man. You mentioned this, I want to say, in the last episode, or it was definitely a previous episode, 1986's Avenging Force. Michael Dudikof, Steve James. As is usually the case on this show, man, I'm embarrassed to say this one snuck under my radar also. I love American Ninja. American Ninja 2 is equivalent to my Ghostbusters 2. I'm not a big fan of it, but
I gotta cut in there, man, because Ghostbusters 2 is way worse than American Ninja 2. I mean, there's still ninjas in American Ninja 2, and I like American Ninja 2 a lot. I like the story. I like what they were doing there. Maybe another time we debate that one, but Ghostbusters 2 is just garbage.
Well, what I'm saying is it was a cinematic disappointment for me. Like I even remember looking in the newspaper and actually seeing like a print ad for American Ninja 2. And I was like, Ma, we gotta go see American Ninja. And she's like, where is it? And I was yeah, the Regency is. And she's like, there's no fucking way we're going to that neighborhood to watch that one movie. Because it's literally the tiniest box. Like you have to like squint with my 8-year-old eyes. But we'll have to bring back American Ninja on another season. But today is Avenging Force, dude. This was technically going to be a sequel to Chuck Norris's Invasion USA, and then Chuck couldn't make it, and they just went like, well, let's get Dudikof in. We'll keep, much like a Jack Ryan novel before those were even a thing, we're just going to keep the main character the same name, and it'll be its own story here. We'll call it Avenging Force.
Matt Hunter is the character's name. That is Invasion USA.
Is there more Matt Hunter films after this?
I do not think so, no. It's a shame because I think what killed that, and we can go into this later, but I think what killed that is Canon, essentially dying. Canon was never super big on sequels. I mean, sure, there was something here and there like a Death Wish or the Missing in Action stuff, American Ninja. But I mean, across the board, they produced thousands and thousands of movies. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they really didn't have tons of sequels unless it was like a Chuck Norris vehicle or a Charles Bronson or somebody they could really market off of. Where just when the time that Dudikof had done Avenging Force, he got a much bigger movie. I want to say it was done by United Artists. So he was kind of out of the Canon loop for a bit, trying to go big time in a movie called River of Death. That was a theatrical release off of the Alistair MacLean novel, I believe it was. But it was boring, and that pretty much, I think, did it for Michael Dudikof trying to be a theatrical star kind of thing. And then obviously had a solid following throughout the years on home video and stuff. But I think him not being involved in Canon and kind of jumping to some bigger things for a moment there. Obviously, he came back to Canon as, he's an American Ninja 4. But, that might be a reason why there is no other Matt Hunter stuff, or there was never another Avenging Force.
Again, this snuck into my radar. So when I saw the lineup, I was like, oh, shit, the gang is all back here. We got Firstenburg directing it. Again, Steve James, who is misused in this. I think he's holding back, maybe. Super delighted to see him. The chemistry those two have is great, and it's after he passes away in a fire that I'm kind of out of the movie the rest of the way. What do you think about that?
I think it was story driven. I don't feel like Steve James was forced into the movie or anything like that. And sure, it's not taking advantage of his strengths there, but you got to remember, we know Steve James is like an action star kind of thing, but he was much more than that. He would do drama films. He would play paramedics. He would do, other things.
Comedies.
Yeah, he would do it all. I'm going to Get You Sucker, obviously, is a comedy. I kind of plays off of his martial arts stuff, though. But
he's a well versatile actor, but he's bringing the action in this, man. He's kicking dudes in the face. He's disarming guns. He's doing shoulder rolls. Like the man's bringing it, and he provides some of the most entertaining action scenes. When he's not in the picture, things deflate slowly.
Yeah, I feel that's with a lot of Steve James films where he kind of disappears or gets killed off in. Avenging Force, I think, is still I love Avenging Force. I love this movie.
This movie goes hard.
Yeah. But there's other films you could say of Steve James when he's in Hero in the Terror with Chuck Norris. When Steve James leaves that movie and gets killed by the terror character, I think a movie like that kind of suffers without him. I think in a movie that I do like, which was a Canon movie called Pow the Escape, or Behind Enemy Lines, it's called in some places, starring the late David Carradine. Steve James is in that, another action vehicle where there's not a lot of fight scenes and stuff, but and he's a supporting character throughout, but you feel like the movie, Carradine obviously is there to carry the picture, but you need that somebody else. And Steve James is that somebody else in a lot of different movies.
Larger than life, leaps off the screen.
It does.
One of my favorite Steve James films that isn't American Ninja one is the McBain with Christopher Walken.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, he's a starring role in that film. I would have to say there's so many supporting ones that are good. I obviously love the grindhouse-ness of a movie like The Exterminator kind of thing, where he's his war buddy, and that is just a grim fucking movie, though. When Robert Ginty decides to essentially shut off life support on Steve James and stuff to kill him, it's a grim movie. You got to be in the mood to watch something like the first Exterminator, and then Canon gets a hold of it, and then they start making wacky movies like Exterminator 2 and stuff, and now they're fun. You know what I mean? But Exterminator 1's pretty gritty, but I like a lot of his works. The one I have not tracked down yet is called Riverbend. It is directed by Sam Firstenburg, I do believe, who did these, the American Ninja stuff. But it's really, really difficult to find. I try not to watch too much stuff that's like put up on YouTube, although I appreciate people putting up rare and hard to find stuff. I'm so high definition spoiled. I'll try to just hang in there for a Blu-ray somewhere.
I gotta say, I was surprised that this wasn't on an Amazon Prime or even a Tubi. I had to find this on YouTube on an unofficial channel, but the guy who threw it up there, it's a beautiful Blu-ray cut, man. Like there's no cracks, no blurry. It's crystal clear.
I am pretty sure this exists on Blu-ray, though. I don't know what company put it out, but I'm fairly certain this movie exists on Blu-ray. Either Code Red or one of those companies put it out there. I'm pretty certain it did, because it was in my Amazon cart for a while, and I didn't pull the trigger, and I wish I did.
I want to talk more about Mad Hunter, but let's talk about the antagonists in this. Every time I read this, I only read it as Pentangle, but for whatever reason, they lean hard into the Pentangle.
Yes, the Pentangle.
What the hell is a Pentangle? That's how I'm going to say it.
That I'm not sure. But, we know what it is in the movie, and it's kind of this evil conglomerate of upper echelon society, the gentlemen, if you will. There is no females in the Pentangle, apparently. The Pentangle in this movie is head up by another great Canon actor and actor in general. He's great in the movie Death Wish 4, The Crackdown. His name's John P. Ryan. Wonderful actor. And I believe he just died not too long ago. So, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe, something like that. Steve James has been dead for probably 25 years now or so.
1994. Is when Steve James died.
Almost 30 years. So he's missed. All these guys are missed. The fun time for action movies. But John P. Ryan heads up the Pentangle. We've got a colorful array of characters where some look like they're out of the Road Warrior or the Road Warriors professional wrestling. There looks like there's professional wrestlers. There's skinny guys with masks on that use swords and stuff. And I will go off on a brief tangent here, and then we'll get back to it. But in my movie Challenge of Five Gauntlets, I have a nod to Avenging Force. When the character Kane goes he's going across the globe and he's going to Africa somewhere in a South African jungle or something like that we're in. And the character there has one of the blank white face masks that one of the Pentangle members has in this movie.
Nice. Going back to the Pentangle. So the only character that they actually introduced by name is the Professor, played by John Ryan.
Yes.
And I forget what his full name is, but I'm just keeping him as the Professor. And then everyone's got a silly costume. The Professor is actually wearing a Mardi Gras mask. He steals all of his scenes, but the mask looks ridiculous. You've then got the Black Dahlia. That's the dude with just the white face mask who's the kendo master.
Yep.
I also have to question how a white supremacist group is super deep into kendo, but that's later. You got the guy from the Road Warrior. I think he's doing a Dick Meyer.
The Destroyer of the movie?
No, the Destroyer, the wrestler. Super classic wrestler. Made it big in Japan, but always wore that dominatrix mask, for lack of a better term. He passed away a few years ago as well. I got to meet him at the Cauliflower Alley Club. Kids, if you wanna meet your dad's favorite wrestlers and future wrestlers of the future, go to the convention, the Cauliflower Alley Club. It's usually in March, sometimes it's in May, depending on how a pandemic is doing, and you'll meet everybody there. So I met the Destroyer, super nice dude. He would never remember me if he was still alive, but like I remember him at the banquet just passing out sweet rolls to everyone else. He was like, and one for you, and here's one for you, and one for you.
So you say the Destroyer. You say the Destroyer to me, I think of Lyle Alzado in the 1988 film The Destroyer with Psychos, Tony Perkins there. But
football guy.
Football guy, died of, I believe, brain cancer or something from steroids. But I don't think that was officially proven. Yeah.
Oh my God. Bring it back now. The guy who's actually probably dressed the best for this, the guy I dubbed the Commando. That's it. Do we know the names of any of these other three gentlemen?
I don't think so.
It's never said, is it?
No, I kind of like how they were trying to do everything there. I do like I like the white blank face mask swordsman guy. I think he's he's the Boba Fett of the Pentangle, where everybody would think to just look at him, he's cool kind of thing. So
it's out there. It's very eyes wide shut, and we're in New Orleans, the Big Easy, where it's just lawlessness all about. But his mask is super impractical. So I had a Jason Voorhees Halloween mask. Now, it's not molded to fit my cinematically gifted nose. However, I bopped myself in the face with whatever, and that shit hurt by a lot. Okay. Anytime Dudikof hits him in the face, I just imagine him going like, ow, ow.
Yep.
The Dahlia, he's not as impressive as the Destroyer was. That guy was literally picking up Dudikof, dropping them on logs, cracking those logs, FYI.
Right.
They're just so waterlogged.
Well, that was probably fun for him to do, though, because Dudikof can't go more than maybe $180 in this movie. So that guy's lifting up 5 times that. So it's probably fun to toss him around. It would be like me wrestling Rey Mysterio. I think it'd be fun because I could just throw him around and stuff like that. Most guys I wouldn't be able to, but somebody, a little 155 or whatever, I'm going to toss around kind of thing.
The Professor, I think, again, has some of the best scenes. I love the gimmick with the wire. I love the scene where it's towards the end of the movie. They're Dudikof and his sister, who should be his daughter, but whatever. They're running through the bog, and the Professor just pops out of the water, much like Jason Voorhees. It comes out of nowhere. You're just like, how long was he down there? Like the ADR and an eagle shriek or something. Like it's a fantastic move. It's one of Firstenburg's best scenes in this movie.
Yeah, I like Firstenburg a lot. obviously, Ninja 3: The Domination's a cult movie. That's a good one. I believe this as a film, though, is much, much better than that kind of stuff. I know the funness of a Ninja 3: The Domination, but Avenging Force, I think it's a good movie. I don't think you'd see Avenging Force on a lot of like sites that would say they're bad, good movies. No, this is a good movie, I think. And I think Dudikof's made several of those. And a lot of the canon stuff. All of them weren't Death Wish 3. You know what I mean? They weren't all wacky and everything. I mean, I believe they produced even Street Smart right around the time they would have done this movie, kind of a grimmer picture with the late Superman guy, Christopher Reeve. And then Morgan Freeman, it was one of his earlier starring roles kind of thing. So, Canon wasn't always, they were trying to reach out and do more serious things. And then I think when the box office came calling, they knew they just needed to stick with what they were good at. And that was Chuck Norris movies and wacky, wackier stuff.
Now, you would have to have not been paying attention in freshman English to realize that this is based on Richard Connell's The Most Dangerous Game. And I'm not folks. I had to look that up. But James Booth is the guy behind this. And he does, again, there's a good story in here. I think we're missing some things. I don't know, but it can't be for time because I think this movie would be better off 15 minutes shorter.
You think?
Yes. Yeah, I think we have three fights with the main bad guy. No, 2. We have 2. It should just be one and done. Whether it could be at the mansion, it could be in the bog, but I think we should just have the one fight between Dudikof and the professor. Otherwise, like when Steve James's family gets murdered, like again, this movie goes hard, folks. Like kids get shot, moms get
fall off
executed.
a house.
The house explodes.
Kids fall off the house.
The kids fell.
They're shot. He falls off the house, which is clearly a dummy, but it kind of adds to the charm of something like that. It's clearly a dummy.
It's a dummy, but at the same time, just like fuck, that kid fell off a roof, like
a roof. Right? I loved it. The final confrontation in the I like it in the what do you call it? His gallery or whatever in his mansion there when John P. Ryan confronts him at the end. Little side note, I don't know why I think of this. I probably just because it makes me laugh every time I see it. But right as he's combating Dudikof, he said something to him, and he's like, "Oh, ho, ho," and he totally is like grabbing his crotch, like Beast Mode used to do, and stuff like that when he says it. I don't know why that's funny, but I do think it's funny.
Oh, it's an older gentleman grabbing his crotch. What's there not to laugh about?
yeah, laughing at him, and then he goes to try to stab him or whatever he tries to do. But I like that scene a lot. And I feel, I don't know if it needed to be 15 minutes shorter. I think what it needed to do was have supplemental scenes come in and others taken out kind of thing. I think the length of it's fine. I think you could replace some scenes with something else kind of thing. I would have liked to have seen something more with the Pentangle being done. Give me a brief backstory. We know they're mysterious, but the problem is we don't know when we're watching this, we're going to get Avenging Force 2 or anything like that. So, which obviously we didn't. But, I would have liked to have seen some development of that. It didn't have to be anything crazy, but something there. I know they tried to give the characters the little backstories where he's the white mask guy is the kendo guy and all this kind of stuff. But I like how each of them had their own gimmicks, kind of like a Mortal Kombat character, if you will. Our John P. Ryan had the zip wire, I believe he had as his main weapon to choke people out and stuff. Obviously, the kendo guy had the swords and stuff. The wrestler guy, I don't remember if he had something. He's
got like it's a battle axe that turns into like some sort of like dog catcher gimmick.
Okay, got it. Yep, got it. So I liked how they did all that kind of stuff. I thought that was cool. But most dangerous game stuff, I like most of them. One of the weaker ones for me would have been the Jean-Claude Van Damme one. I thought Hard Target was weak, man. I mean, that's a thing. You knew at the end of the movie there wasn't going to be some climatic fight scene between Lance Henriksen, who looks like he's 60 years old in that movie, and Van Damme. I mean, you knew that wasn't going to happen. Henriksen was either going to blow up or no, just respecting Lance because Pumpkinhead's one of my favorite movies. But I mean, you knew there wasn't going to be some crazy ass martial art battle between Lance Henriksen and Jean-Claude at the end of that. I think Surviving the Game is really good with Gary Busey and Ice-T.
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, I think Gary Busey has one of the best monologues in movie history with the Prince Henry Stout speech in that movie. I think is amazing. I like that one a lot. Although I watched it recently, and while Surviving the Game, I think holds up. I think the ending feels rushed and forced on it, and that's the only thing I really don't like about Surviving the Game. I think they were like, well, we got to be under 90 minutes, and we're gonna have Rutger Hauer for about 3 more hours. So let's get something together. So it just felt rushed. But there's a lot of good ones, and I really believe Avenging Force just might be the best of the Most Dangerous Game takes there.
Avenging Force, though, is missing the motive, or who are the people that are being hunted in both Surviving the Game and Hard Target. It's just homeless people. You know, it's New Orleans. Correct. No one's gonna miss them. It is what it is. But
what I got out of that watching it was that I think their motive was they're obviously a white supremacist group, and in this movie's story, the Pentangle's job was basically to make sure Steve James wasn't going to be whatever he was going for, governor, senator, whatever he was running. Senator. So I think that the Pentangle's mission in this movie was that. But that goes back to what I was saying earlier. I wish that they would have developed a Pentangle a little bit more. What if there's Pentangle people in Washington that are doing something at the same time? What if they're in Seattle trying to take out somebody and, make it like a national kind of thing? And I don't think they would have had to spend a lot of time doing that. But I think what I got out of this was, yes, the Pentangle in Avenging Force's main job was to make sure Steve James didn't make it to senator there.
They should have had some sort of tease, or at least a reveal of who the 5th member is. And for a minute there, I thought it was the guy Dudikof was talking to at the very end before he storms off.
Yes.
But it's very ambiguous.
I think that's what they were getting at. It is very ambiguous. If I had to guess, I'm going to say it's him. I don't think director Sam Firstenburg did the best job in fleshing that out kind of thing. But I mean, they tried to explain it in dialogue briefly where Dudikof, I think, was telling him, how did so-and-so know this? Or how did they know to go here? How did they know this? We were at this location and stuff. So somebody was tipping him off. And that guy, whatever he is, the general or whatever that guy is.
It's not clear.
It's not clear what he is, right? Or if he's CIA or, whatever he is.
So, James Booth, the guy who directed it, he's also in the movie, but he plays the Admiral. He's the white guy with the glasses. That's so nondescript in this movie, but he's the dude that gives Dudikof all the information going into it, and then at the end of the movie, Dudikof's talking to another dude entirely. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that. However, I think Dudikof has got one of the better action star lines to end a movie in all of action movie history, because I love it. How you want to go for tough guy movie moments, and I know Dudikof isn't put in that same thing as Schwarzenegger and Stallone and all those guys, Chuck Norris, Seagal, all that, but his line where if the Pentangle is not finished and just getting started, then so am I. And I think then he just walks off. And I thought that's a great moment, man.
Dudikof knew what he was doing, man. Again, he had something there. Did you ever see Soldier Boys?
Oh yeah. He made $1 million in salary off of that movie. That was probably his highest salary for a film, I believe. After Soldier Boys, he did a bit part in a theatrical release film about Jerry Springer. Springer's in it. Dudikof is like
the Ringmaster
or something. Yes, that one. Dudikof is in that.
Okay. Ringmaster is a very strange movie here. Soldier Boys, dug it when it first came out in 1995. Tried to do a podcast on it like 3 years ago, and then I just hit the abort button. I was like, no, forget
it. It's okay. I don't think it's one of his best, but it's not. It's okay. It's watchable, put it that way. In Dudikof land, I mean, obviously the American Ninja stuff I like. I would have loved to have been on set of part 4 just to see what the heat would have been between David Bradley, who's a fairly good martial artist, where Dudikof was, because I heard there was a rift there where David Bradley, who didn't do a ton of movies at that point, before American Ninja 4, but he did part 3, and it was his franchise now, David Bradley's franchise, and He went on to do a couple cool movies, but he kind of petered out after about 10 years, maybe, if that's. So,
I want to say he's still working. I would have to double check that.
David Bradley's not. No, I don't think David Bradley is. Dudikof, I believe, is. Dudikof had a long break there, but I think he went back to doing some smaller pictures. David Bradley.
I can tell you that James Booth, in addition to writing this, also wrote American Ninja 2 and Part 4. For some reason, though, he decided to use the name David Jeeves, which I don't quite understand. And then Firstenburg directed all sorts of stuff. The aforementioned Ninja 3.
Oh, yeah.
He directed everybody's favorite movie punchline, Electric Boogaloo, Breakin' 2.
Electric Boogaloo, yeah.
Yeah. Now everyone's news punchline is Too Fast, Too Furious. But then he would go on and do everything else for David Bradley. He's got Cyborg Cops 1 and 2, American Samurai.
American Samurai is good. That's got they debut of a starring role for Mark Dacascos, I believe is how you say his name.
Mark Dacascos. Yeah. It's only because of John villain. Wick and all the promotion they did with that. That's how I know how to say it properly. Now, for a long time, I was like, I butcher his name every time, like you did.
Yeah, I probably do that a lot with people. But my name's Kabasinski, so I expect it in return, believe me. So, but yes, he's in it. American Samurai is well worth your time. It's well made. Yes, it's good. It's good. It's a well-made. That might be a Canon picture, like towards the end kind of thing of Canon Pictures, because it's probably 93-ish kind of thing. So well worth it. American Samurai, people, good movie.
American Samurai, much like Best of the Best, was one of those movies that was always on the movie channel, like 4 p.m, and I was just like, again, not understanding that Firstenburg was behind it. I was just like, I don't want to see this American Ninja ripoff. Come on, guys. What's going on?
Yeah, it's not an American Ninja ripoff at all. Check it out. You'll like it.
Is there anything like so I have a whole list. There's American Ninja, American Yakuza, American Samurai, American Kickboxer, American Cyborg, and American Shaolin. I'm sure there's more, but
well, out of those, American Cyborg is with the late Joe Lara, I think, or Lara, who just died in a plane crash, I think, last year. He's the star of American Cyborg. He would also play Tarzan on TV, the one with J. Michael Vincent, I believe. So American Cyborg's not bad, and it's a well-made movie. What was the other ones? Yakuza, I believe, is with Viggo Mortensen, whatever his last name is. There, you know who I'm talking about. Viggo. He doesn't have to have a last name. You just say Viggo, and everybody knows who you're talking about. So that's what I want to be. I want to be the point where you just say Len, and you don't have to say my last name. You know who I'm talking about. I'm not at that point yet, but I'll get there. So, but yeah, I don't know American Yakuza, but I believe Viggo is in it. American Kickboxer, good movie. Starring John Barrett, who apparently was a trainer of Chuck Norris and stuff. He usually stayed behind the scenes, but once in a while would come out for like a smaller role. Like he's got a role in Gymkata with the late Kirk Thomas. Good movie. I love Gymkata, man. Another most dangerous.
Everyone in this episode is dead tonight. God damn.
Yeah. And I might put that was also directed by Robert Klaus. Gymkata was. Kirk Thomas is dead. Klaus is dead now. But John Barrett was in there, and he is the star of American Kickboxer. You should check out American Kickboxer because I think you would really like it.
Okay.
Even it's better than American Samurai. I would say watch American Kickboxer.
Much like Captain America, I'll put that on the list. American Kickboxer. So I just all that delay was to confirm. Yeah, David Bradley still alive, hasn't done anything in film since 1997. Dudikof is still working as of 2019 and probably still wishes to continue working. American Kickboxer, that is now on the list. So let's see. So Dudikof's sister, who should be his daughter, what do we think about her? Her voice is dubbed by another actress, and it's weird.
Yeah, I think you can tell she's dubbed. I mean, for a movie like this, I mean, back in '86, you could see it almost as kind of excusable if you had to. It's not like 2010 Seagal where he didn't want to be bothered to dub stuff, so they dub him with obviously someone that sounds nothing like Stevens. So where that just comes across as very lazy, in this one, it comes across as something they probably just felt they had to do for whatever reason, kind of thing. But it didn't strike me as a laziness kind of filmmaking moment here. But yeah, she's clearly dubbed.
Well, her intro, I think we meet Matt Hunter on the ranch. He's a ranch hand, and he learns how to hog tie. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised that never comes back into play. But she pops her out and she's like, Matt, we got to go to New Orleans. And she's physically mumbling. You can see her like she's not opening her mouth whatsoever. However, this wild Southern accent is just flying out. And it's just like, oh, that was the best take they got that day.
Yeah, I kind of, it should be his daughter. I agree, but she looks a little too young to be a sister. But who knows? Yeah, I think she toughed it out though on set. I bet, because that scene in the rain and stuff when he saves her, and they're in the swamp, that had to be a brutal shoot. That couldn't have been easy, kind of thing. So I'll give her. I'm going to give her a pass on the dubbing due to toughing it out in that rainy, swampy action sequence.
The rainstorm in the swamp is so intense that
badass.
There's a scene where water is literally just covering the lens. That's the only blurry moment in the movie. And it's like, wow. I mean, I know Canon has professional guys, but like they couldn't even protect the lens from that. Probably fried the lens too.
Yeah, I think that's a great action scene, the rainy swamp thing.
Cool. That's where he has to fight the Commando. No, he fights the Dahlia and then the Destroyer immediately back to back.
One of them gets whatever the tree log through the chest. I forget which one.
That's the Dahlia.
Way, but yeah.
He a monkey flip outdoes him.
Yes,
it's an intense. Still, you're just like. I think the one action scene that made me cringe the most, where I'm like, is where Steve James throws that dude into the wheel well of whatever track. I thought it was a tractor, right?
Tractor, yeah, it's a big tractor, yeah.
I mean, like, dudes are getting shot up and Dudikoff's breaking arms, but Steve James just rams that dude's skull, and you're like, fuck. Again, kids get shot in this. People are getting stabbed. The house explodes. Some wild shit here.
Kids fall off a roof.
Kids fall off a roof. So, what else do we got to say about this, Len? I got some details here, but we got any other critiques, positive or negative, for this? This is an enjoyable movie. I will say that.
Yeah, with Avenging Force, I really believe it is, and I've said it for years, and I think it still holds true today. It probably is, my favorite, most dangerous game take kind of thing. I would probably put this at 1, just because anybody that knows me probably knows I would put Jim Cotta at 2. but I think surviving the game, although I think the ending is weak, that's still probably a top 5er kind of thing. But I really feel Avenging Force is the best of the best kind of thing on this. I'm not surprised, but I don't know, or I shouldn't say I'm not shocked, but mildly surprised that Dudikof wasn't bigger than what he was. I mean, I don't think he's a horrible actor. He's a good-looking guy. He can do fight scenes where you can tell. Sometimes you can tell when a stunt double is there, when it's too martial arty, because I think he was a more of a boxer in real life at the time. But obviously had the look of an action star. I think some of that though came that he was just not a big, muscular, imposing guy. And in back in the mid 80s, you had Stallone and Schwarzenegger and all those guys. And really the only martial arts star that was really making any impact was Chuck Norris. And he's Chuck Norris. What are you going to say? So, but yeah, I think Dudikof should have been bigger. And I know he had a long career, probably has a nice life, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think he should have been bigger. Steve James is good in everything. I think he's missed. I still obviously think he would be a working actor, especially in today's, digital land of cinema where there's so much more opportunities and stuff. I could see Steve James hanging around there. I believe he died of pancreatic cancer, maybe.
At the age of 41.
He was dead by the time he was 40.
41, dude. Yeah, I am 2 years older now than when Steve James died. That is upsetting.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than that, so
it's the same too. Just like, man, so young, such a huge career ahead of him too. Did you ever watch Mantis?
I knew that was one of his final things he did, because I think that was like a Fox TV show, I thought, or a pilot or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, I'm never into episodic television too much because I don't have time to really follow stuff like that unless it's Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. But it's there's a lot of cool stuff. You play the 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever. You could play that off of the cast in this movie, and it'd be a pretty cool game. With John P. Ryan, his career is obviously pretty illustrious throughout 3 decades, 4 decades, whatever it was. He did a lot of cool movies. Is always a crazy bad guy. So the look of him, it's hard to not make him crazy in some fashion. But I think he's really good in Death Wish 4, as I mentioned. But I think Avenging Force is a movie everybody should see. Anybody that likes the 80s action wave of things. Obviously, if you're a Canon fan, you've definitely seen this already, probably. But I think anybody that's a fan of 80s cinema, don't get caught up thinking it's a martial art movie, because it really isn't. It's an action film. But
with martial arts in it.
There's some martial arts sprinkled throughout, but Michael Dudikof isn't in American Ninja mode here, kind of thing.
No. Great car chase. They jump a bridge. They jump some junk at one point. There's good action in this, man. This was not a disappointment by any means. Let me see. So we know this movie is Avenging Force, but in Israel, this is actually American Ninja 2, and then everything else is bumped up by 1. Over there. Let's see. Despite the positive reviews, Canon Films, who's cash strapped at this point. By the way, whenever we do a Canon Films, they either strap for cash or they're just being cheap. It's hard to tell which is which unless you're well versed, as you might be, Len. But this movie only made 500 cinemas domestically, so it heavily impacted its success.
I think with that, you just got to think about what did Canon believe was more important than Avenging Force at the time to push. I'd be curious what other films they had, out there at the time, kind of thing. Because as I mentioned, Chuck Norris was always doing stuff. Charles Bronson was still doing theatrical releases at this point through Canon, like Assassination and things like that were all Canon pictures. Murphy's Law, I believe those are all Canon pictures, I believe. So, I'm wondering what pushed Avenging Force to the side, kind of thing, because I would bet something like that is the culprit.
It's not even in my notes here, but I can tell you what it is. So Avenging Force makes its theatrical debut September 12th, 1986. 5 weeks prior, the day after my birthday, August 7th, 1986, is when they dropped Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
And I don't remember that being a box office bomb by any means, but it clearly there was problems going into it and then problems afterwards as well. They were trying to get Spider-Man off the ground at one point, if not this year, the following year, and that never happened. But again, Canon's either always, the story is they're being cheap or they're broke. It's disappointing. Let's see. Dudikof did the majority of his stunts, but although the stunts that he doesn't do are very visible. There's a scene where he tripwires down the with his belt.
Yes,
that's obviously
not him. Yes.
Dudikof improvised the "stick it where its sun don't shine" line.
If you look at a lot of his films around this time, if you notice, he really doesn't use foul language at all. Very, very rarely.
He doesn't, does he?
No, he never does. Dudikof's characters never use foul language. I don't think in American Ninja his character ever swore at all. Not even like, shit, something bad's about to happen. I mean, nothing.
Is he a Christian? That's a wild leap for me to make, but that's the question that comes to mind.
I believe he's definitely a martial artist in real life. I know that. I know he was more of a boxer at this time, but I believe he's a black belt through Machado or something in California out there. I believe he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I believe.
Okay.
Gracie, Machado, one of those guys out there.
Dig it. The 20 special effects artists were needed for the sequence where the house gets set on fire.
Yeah, that's a cool sequence, though. That's a well done sequence in the movie when Steve James is holding his son and stuff like. That's a well done scene, man.
Heroic death too. Like he goes.
Yes.
He is not going to stop till he saves his kid there. And the shortest sentence I have in this: the Mardi Gras parade was filmed over 2 days, which is also the most exhausting thought for me. It's like, So that they didn't just shoot the rodeo there. They actually like got 500 people to be a part of that 2-block Mardi Gras parade.
Ugh. Yeah, the extras coordination would not be fun.
It's stacked, dude. Like it looks like they were at Mardi Gras in New Orleans. I don't know where they filmed this.
Totally does. Yeah, totally does.
So like I said, September 12th, 1986 is when this dropped. 1.13 million was its opening weekend. We're looking at 500 theaters, give or take. Its overall domestic run, we have no international details. 4.6 million out of 200 recorded films that year. This logs in at 114, and just sandwiched between King Kong Lives and the original No Retreat, No Surrender. Our top 5 movies of that year, going 5 up: Star Trek 4, The Karate Kid Part 2, Platoon, Crocodile Dundee, and then, of course, Top Gun.
Right.
This was a delightful movie, dude. Again, I was super happy with the casting. I'm enjoying the story. Personally, think it's a little long, but it's nothing that I couldn't sit through more than twice in a row, which I did for this.
Somebody listening to this show, drop us a link, because I'm fairly confident this exists on Blu-ray. It would have just been released within the last couple years here. So, but I'm pretty sure it does. I mean, maybe it's discontinued now, but it was available within the last couple years. And it's got the original, like, not photographed, but I don't believe it's painted either, but it's got like a cartoony looking poster to it. That's the cover to this, to the Blu-ray. It's Dudikof with a gun and stuff on it, but it's clearly like a drawing, an artwork, and not like a photographed picture of him or anything.
Oh shit! George S. Clinton did the composition on this. This is one of his first compositions theatrically. He's best known for doing the Mortal Kombat 1995 score. You know, he's also done all the Austin Power movies. Like George S. Clinton. This is a recognizable detail that should have been included in this episode, and I snuck it in there. So, Len,
I love this movie. I can't say it enough. I think this is a really good one. I like tons of Canon movies, of course, but this is right up there at the top for me.
I'm glad you recommended it, dude. I'm glad I know it now exists. Again, I love these two guys together. I wish they were in more films. Did they just do the 3, or is Dudikof also in Riverbend?
No. Steve James is the lead in that movie, in Riverbend. And again, I think I don't remember the fine details of it, but I'm pretty sure Sam Firstenburg of this directs Riverbend as well. Steve James is the lead, and I believe it's got a story not unlike the Pentangle thing. I think Steve James goes to a town and he's like a veteran or something, and then or he is a veteran, and there's some kind of like supremacist group or something like that that's in the town, or there's rowdy bikers or rowdy townsfolk, and he's trying to, like, I don't know, battle racism in this small town. I'm pretty sure it's something like that. But it was American Ninja 1, 2. Steve James, they gave the lead role in American Ninja 3, even though David Bradley takes over as the American Ninja. Steve James is the top credited role in that picture. Cedric Sundstrom directed that. Another well-versed B-movie career for Cedric Sundstrom there. 4, I believe Cedric Sundstrom directs as well, and then Dudikof is back, but then we have no Steve James. So Steve James might have been on to McBain by that point, kind of thing. But Steve James is not in American Ninja 4, but Dudikof is.
Disappointingly not in American Ninja 4. By the way, Firstenburg confirmed for directing Riverbend. And then Steve James in 1994 was getting ready to do Mantis, which would be his closer. He's in Blood Fist 5. Weekend at Bernie's too, surprisingly. Something called Raven, which he did one episode of. Plays himself in that super indie-rific movie, The Player, in 1992. I
will say in the Don Wilson Blood Fist 5, I believe it was, yes. He's not looking real great in that one.
Really? That's disappointing. Yeah, he plays Mark. He apparently does dual roles, Marcus and Drew Washington. Or maybe that's just the same guy with an alias. But, yeah, dude. Len, what do you want to promote?
Well, I'd say if people want to find my stuff, the best way to support my stuff is via my Patreon campaign. It's only $2. It's patreon.com/KillerWolfFilms. You can download all my movies are on there. Most of them have downloads and things like that. All my new stuff for the last several years here, when I have a new film come out, it will come out on Patreon first. Free to all the Patreon subscribers and stuff there. So when Pact of Vengeance, which stars Leo Fong, John Mickle-Thor from Rock and Roll Nightmare, we've got Peter Avalon and Diamante from AEW Wrestling. It's a great cast. Leo Fong is still with us going strong, still writing stuff. Ass. He's 93 years old. So yeah, he's a great man. So Pact of Vengeance, obviously, when that's ready, which is looking like April-ish, it'll debut on Patreon, and then people will see it 6 months, 8 months, who knows how long before, a distributor will put it out there, kind of thing. But I really, that's the best way to support my works going forward, is joining the Patreon. People don't realize, if your film's on Amazon Prime, I'm not making really anything from that kind of stuff, especially through a distributor. I'm not even making a penny. I'll watch off of that stuff. But join the Patreon, check it out. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of material on there. So it's well worth your $2. So check out my Patreon, everybody.
That's what's up. As for me, you can always check out the Microdose on Fridays. You can check out Waffle Box on Wednesdays. I'm going to recommend everybody go into the Kush and Kai library. It's one of the earlier episodes, but check out our discussion on 1991's McBain with Christopher Walken and Steve James. Fantastic movie, fantastic discussion. The Simpsons obviously do come up at one point, but it's a good time. You should check that out. Otherwise, Len, you got anything else you want to say?
Well, once again, Kush, thanks. I look forward to this series that we're doing here. Next up is Martial Outlaw, one of my favorite 90s movies. I believe the Image Entertainment put it out at that time, and they were doing several action pictures and things like that. Starring Jeff Wincott, who I believe was nominated for a television. What's the television awards? Is that Emmys?
Emmys.
For late night television for, I believe the show was Night Heat back in the 80s. But a really good martial artist, again, comes from an acting family, or, Michael Wincott from The Crow and stuff like that is his brother.
Okay.
But yeah, Jeff Wincott, I'm sure we will discuss this next time. He went on a pretty good run of, straight to home video action films and stuff like that in the 90s there. So I look forward to that one.
That's what's up. Everyone, for Master Len Kabasinski, I've been Kush Hayes. You've been you. From the BosNet family.
He's the Boba Fett of the Pentangle, where everybody would think